Welcome to Getting Back Up, where grief meets growth.
Two men, two fathers, and one shared journey of rebuilding.
We're talking about life after cancer, love, loss, and everything no one tells you.
Well, let's get into
it. Hey everybody, I'm David McLean.
And I'm Jamal Jones.
And we're getting back up as we typically do each Tuesday, right?
Yeah. That's the day.
Yeah, and we are in our conversation series with different people. And as we have talked about this evolution of thinking more about loss in total, comes in different forms. And we started that conversation with acclaimed actor and director.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Russell Hornsby, who we are bringing back for part 2. So Mr. Hornsby, it is so good to see you, sir. How you doing?
Good to see you, gentlemen, and thank you for having me again. We had a great time last time, and looking forward to this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And last time we talked about Russell's loss of his mother, and just all of the experience that he saw, his brother saw, his mother and others during that time of that illness, and then after. So there was so much that he offered. We want to say, Russell, that the community had really, really reached out on that. TikTok's going crazy, man, as far as all the elements that you brought to that conversation. Just thousands and thousands of people coming in every day on TikTok, and just thankful for particularly that element where you were saying how your mother knew that her time was coming. She wanted to go home. People really, really, really gravitated towards that and just let us know. Lots of comments there. So just thank you again for that, and just being so vulnerable again during that time period. So that I wanted to thank you. We wanted to thank you for that time period.
I appreciate that, gentlemen. Thank you.
Yeah. Now we're kind of switching it up a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's funny. We're talking about, I guess we kind of have a little bit of a career theme.
Yeah.
At some points, because we met with Dijon Craddock and recently, and we talked about with him about job loss, right? He's going through a young man that we interviewed a couple episodes ago, and he was talking about how he's feeling with transitioning and trying to find that transition back into, his career. But today we're also dealing with, the idea of like when your career and like when you're in your career and you still go through these different phases,
right?
During your journey, and for Russell, an actor's career is never, I think, and we all see on TV and stages and, the big lights, we all feel like, man, that must be so amazing. And it's
all the glitter,
but,
all that glitters is gold, but there's so much more to that aspect of your career and the entertainment industry, Russell. So right now you finished up 2 movies in Atlanta, right? So
yes.
Yeah. So you're kind of done with that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just finished up 2 movies here. Fortunately, one was called Love Her Way with Tisha Campbell, and that's or Happy, which is based on Mary J. Blige's song, and then the other is Tis So Sweet with Taraji P. Henson and directed by Tasha Smith. And so just, fortunate to, and I was very fortunate to be able to shoot them back to back, which is rarely happens, and all in Atlanta as well. So the universe was looking out for your brother.
Yeah, well, thankful for that. And I think also in that process where there's a cycle that you have repeated over and over again. You just finished these 2 films. You were there for an extended amount of time. Now you leave different, having been there for all these number of years. You're at a different point in your career as an actor. Now, someone very established, been around, a name that folk know. But let me just say this, and this is my question to you, is you now are different, having finished and completed the 2 projects. you now have to go back home where your kids are different. You have to rebalance your relationship with your wife and where your role is in the family going back. Your kids are older
Yes.
after you spent this time coming back. So what do you feel you have lost in this process over these many cycles of years where you've had to go away and go back? Speak a little bit about where that loss kind of takes residence in your life.
Well, I think if I may, in order to go forward, I'd have to go back, and
Sure.
in doing that, I think I'd be able to sort of connect the dots. When we were talking about loss in the last session. Wow.
Did you see it as therapy? Did you see it as therapy?
right, podcast. In losing my mother, and the reality of it is that I didn't. This project that I'm working on now is the first job I had in a year and a half, so I didn't work all that time, right? And so I think though it was necessary for me, spiritually and emotionally to have that time. So I took that time both with my mother to help see her through and help her in her transition. But then also it was the time for me to heal, but also for me to be closer to my family. And I think it was the longest period of time that I had uninterrupted as far as work is concerned with my family, since my kids have been born, and pretty much even in my career, And so, as that time is going, I was distracted by having to deal, with my mother and deal with, putting, just making sure she left here right. And then we celebrated her life, and that was sort of the distraction. Right. And so once we laid her to rest or celebrated her life, I woke up and I said, hold on, I haven't worked in almost a year. This is okay. This is interesting. Had really good time, again, with my boys and my family and wife, and we were able to take trips and just, be at home and be a part of their life and their development. But then you look at the reality is I haven't worked in a year. And so it's a confluence of a lot of things, it was, I needed the time, obviously, but also the business was and is in a transition period. And we had a huge renaissance of work and opportunity for a lot of people over the last 10 and some would even say 15 years that kind of all of a sudden made a precipitous, drop in the amount of work that people had. And so I think that what it forced me to do once you cross that threshold of 50, and this was told to me many years ago, but you kind of put it in thy memory season. But, once you get past 50, you have to really start to consider aspects of career mortality. That there will be a shift in your career. Because you begin to, your body changes, and no matter how young you think you are, people may say you look, you're still 50. You know what I mean? And then when you juxtapose 50 up against 30, you know what I mean? You older, you know what I mean? And that's a reality. And so then you begin to ask yourself, what does that look like for me? What will the next 7 to 10 years look like for me? And then what do I need to do to prepare for it or to make a pivot? And that begins to be a little unsettling, if you will, but it is a reality. And it was a reality and it is a reality. And so when I received word about these two jobs, after taking a sigh of relief, being able to sort of end the year on a high note, you do think about, what comes next. I mean, what is always, part of our business. It is a hunt and peck kind of thing. You're always, once you get a job, you're looking over your shoulder, you're looking beyond the clouds and going, or the mountains and going, okay, what's next? What does next look like? And, and for the first time in my career, over some 20 odd years, there's no city on the horizon, if you will. And, but that's a part of the business that I've chosen. You're going to have to deal with that reality. It's scary. It's very scary, especially because, having a wife and kids, having a family that you have to provide for, the unknown is very frightening. In a way, it wasn't 10, 15, 20 years ago when you were young and, you didn't have the financial concerns and priorities that you have now. But again, we say we want it, right? We say we want to be an artist. We say we want to be in the business, if you will. And so in doing that, you have to be honest with yourself and take all that comes with that. As August Wilson would say, you got to take the crooked with the straight. And that is a part of it.
And so how long have you been thinking about kind of the overlap of, and then also of the career of, hey, it was this, the industry has changed, the terrain has changed essentially, and then adding the director piece and looking at other projects. Have you always had to think that way, or even more increasingly, truly in the last number of years, you've had to think that way about, man, let me put this other together so that I'm fed by this industry I've decided to commit myself to?
Yeah, no, I've never had to think that way. I was talking to a friend of mine a few nights back, and, he was saying how he's always been a hustler, and, being an actor in theater, being an actor in film and TV, and being somewhat of a journeyman, but, working consistently and doing different ways, but has had to hustle in the way of supplementing his income by teaching. He at a university, supplementing his income by coaching, all of these things on top of getting jobs in film, television, and theater. Right. And so I thought to myself, wow, my nickname was Hustle in so much as I just hustled and took every job, every acting job that was there for me. Right. So I didn't have to, I haven't had a regular job since 1998. You know what I mean? And so, but my hustle was just going from job to job. And I had the good fortune that I was provided those opportunities. Now you do have to consider how you're going to go about things. And as you think about what comes next, or as you try to set that up, whether it be the directing, whether it be producing, you do have to start from somewhere, and you do have to take the time. It may not be as much time as it took me to, go to theater school and whatnot to get my to build my craft, but it does take time. And so you have to lay out, you have to lay that out there, do the groundwork, do all the study, do the requisite research, all of those things, and start somewhere. And it might take 6 months, it might take a year, in order to sort of further your education so that you are undeniable for an opportunity, that may come next. But that, that's just dealing with it honestly. There is no fairy dust or special sauce that you put in it. It's just like we all know, it's just about hard work, about getting up and doing the work that needs to be done.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you talked about kind of like really kind of taking an assessment, really kind of looking at, over that mountain. And then, David and I have talked about this, right? To your same point, like earlier around, like once you start approaching 50, even 40s, right? You still have to, that reality of time, as they say, father time, he's coming, right? You can't slow him down.
Undefeated.
He's undefeated, right? But I mean, I think the other part of it too is like, as you think about that, you think about your bandwidth, your velocity, your energy decreases over time. And you have to think about, I always think about my career personally and the moves that I make. It's like a chessboard, right? How many more moves do I have left on this board, right? Not even correlated to time, but correlated to my career and the moves that I want to be able to take, the moves that I need to take, and then how that affects, right, my time with my family, my time,
and knowing it's all going to change.
And knowing it's going to, it's all going to change as you progress through each move.
In that constant change is a constant,
right? So I mean, when you think about, can I go as hard as I used to go, chasing the next role or the next opportunity for us, chasing that next promotion, that next title, or whatever that may be, like those are things that the reality is they do change over time.
Yeah,
for actors and actresses especially, but also, normal people in career have to also think like that, right? You can't function. I remember my, one story I recall is having a president of a business that I supported. And, this is probably 15 years ago. And we were leaving the office at the same time, Friday afternoon. And, he's older, he's up in age. And, he's like, hey, Jamal, what are you about to do? Oh, I'm going to head home for the weekend, spend some time and with my kids. And he's like, oh, I'm going to go buy my kid a car. And I'm like, oh, that's a nice gift. He's like, yeah, it's kind of a makeup for missing his graduation.
Oh, wow.
And I was just, he's like, you missed his graduation. He was like, yeah, I was traveling. And I was just thinking like, man, like you don't get that memory back. But then that also made me think like, what, even in my own life, like are the things that I'm willing to sacrifice or the velocity at which I'm willing to aspire for a certain level of success. And it does, those things make you really think about that. And I'm wondering, Russell, for you, if the year off or the year where you kind of took time for yourself and your family, did that also cause you to rethink or think about like how the future opportunities and what you're willing to take, do?
It didn't. I always say that, we all have to be realistic in what we have to do and what we're willing to do and what we're willing to sacrifice. We oftentimes say what we won't do or what we won't take until we're faced with the moment of truth of having to make that decision, and it might be, a career decision, it might be a family decision, but when you have to look at realistically, times are tough. Bills need to be paid and you have to sacrifice, for a lot of us. And you're right. I mean, I said to myself, wow, I did miss a lot of time with my family. But then I had to say to myself, but as a successful man in making an objective living in a subjective industry, I had to do what I had to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, everybody does it differently. And I don't want to put a racial component on it, but sometimes you have to. And it's like, I think about when you hear stories of, a lot of the men who had to go up north and find those factory jobs when they left their family and sent money back or came back and got them and pulled them up or just never came back. Some of them, these are all sacrifices that family, that mothers and fathers or husbands and wives make to provide for their family because you know what I mean? It's not stacked up for us to win outright.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so again, I just say, I would always tell myself what I'm going to do or what I want to do, or, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z until the moment of truth comes. You have to make a decision.
And,
you know what I mean? And so the moment of decision is, I want my kids to come home to a warm house. I want the lights to go on. You know what I mean? The car needs to be fixed. How much is that? These are just truisms of life. And then we put ourselves that we want to live at a certain standard, right? It's not once you get it, Oh, you're not
Yeah, it's
happy with
hard.
just getting it. You want to get it in abundance. You want to get it at a certain
Right.
level, right? So then you work harder, then you go after the promotion, or you take a second job, and all these things we talk about when we're young. We say, I just want a simple life. I just want this. And then simple sit in front of you, go, no, that's not good enough.
Yeah. I need more. I want some more. Yeah.
No,
I gotta level up.
I want complex. You know what I mean? I want sophisticated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no. Yeah. And so those require sacrifices. You know?
Yeah.
And so that I have to look at it both ways, and so I don't beat myself up, anymore with, oh, I missed this and I missed that. I've always tried to do my best to make it home for birthdays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all of those. We take trips together, but we're laying the groundwork for our kids to have more and better than what we had, and sort of connecting again. It's like, I remember my mother missed soccer games. My mother missed plays because she had 3 jobs.
Right.
You know what I mean? She was a reservist in the Navy. And so that once it falls on a tournament or it falls on your play, I have to miss it.
Yeah.
Let me go back to the recognition. I'm sorry, finish. I'm sorry if I cut you off.
No. Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and evidence of this balance was shown and expressed in a funny story you told me about the boys, what they said to you when you had to accept. So what I'm saying, you all have to make tough decisions, but there is an understanding at home. So can you tell that story a little bit? There are a couple of them, but
there's 2 of them. This just shows me just how amazing, my kids are, but my son Walker, specifically, I think he was about 4 or 5. And I was here in Atlanta. I was shooting BMF, and it was like late at night. It was like 10 or 11, East Coast time, and they're on West Coast, and you're doing like the Zoom FaceTime or whatever. And so, my eyes get puffy a lot. So I was wearing those under eye things before I go to bed. So I wake up, you're fresh and everything like that. And so Denise says, "Oh no," Walker says, "Daddy, why do you have those things in your eyes?" I said, "Daddy needs them. So, Daddy looks good when he goes to work. And so because I have to go to work and I have to work." He says, "Yes, because if you don't, you won't make any money." And he just said it in that sing-songy way, and I was like, "Wow,
at 4
or 5," and he said it like he was like on his iPad, like doing this and doing that.
Very matter of fact, yes.
Yeah, he said, "If you don't, then you won't make any money." No. And it tickled me so. It really did.
That's hilarious.
And then this time, I literally had like 24 hours at home. I got home on a Friday. I got word. I got home. I was home at 12 o'clock. I got home back to my house off the plane at 12 noon. At 12:30, I get a call from my agent and manager saying, "We have good news and bad news. The good news is you got the role in the Tisha Campbell movie. The bad news is you have to leave tomorrow." I was like, wow. And again, in that moment, I felt like, wow, man, I just got home. I want to see with my kids. I was planning to spend 2 weeks home before I had to go to the next project. And even that's not a lot. And I was like feeling bad, really. So I go to Walker first. And I said, "Hey, Walker, I had planned to be here for a couple of weeks with you guys, but, unfortunately, Daddy just got a job and I have to leave tomorrow." He said, "Daddy, that's okay. That's the life of an actor. You have to take the jobs when they come." Man, I had to leave that man. The water just.
That's right. Yeah, brother. I need to go pack, man.
Man. I walked out of there, man. I was toe up. And then my youngest son didn't take it as easy. He's like, "I'll miss you, Daddy. I thought you were going to be here." I said, "I'm so sorry," And, that's the hard part. That's the loss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what you have to, create strength within your spirit to get back up from that.
Right.
You know what I mean? From the pain of having to tell your kids, "I won't be here."
Yeah.
And now and now I have to tell them. Like I have, like my kids are of the age where I go to them and I say this, that, and the third. For a long time, Denise would say it. And then there was a moment where she said to me, and it didn't even dawn on me. She said, "Did you tell the boys?" And I was like, "Oh, it's time. It's my job now."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I have to speak to them, you know?
Yeah. And there's an element of it where it's, you can't put all that pressure on her to deliver that news for them because, not to say that she becomes the bearer of the bad news all the time. Right. And it's not bad news. It's just uncomfortable.
It's life.
It's life.
Yeah.
But then it allows you to kind of foster that conversation of being able to have difficult discussions with your kids.
Laying the groundwork
that, hey, we are going to have to make sacrifices. And we, as parents, as adults, shouldn't shy away from exposing our kids to that at the right time and being part of that. But also the communication that allows you guys to have so that they understand, they build that understanding. You both, kind of build that relationship of just easy and difficult discussions. Right. When the sacrifice is necessary for different parts of our lives.
And Russell, it's about a very specific relationship that you are formulating with your boys at different junctures in their lives and development. Right. I mean, that's really what the foundation is.
Absolutely. And I think that it's a little delayed because you haven't been there. You know what I mean? And so
right.
And so being home for a year, we hadn't had to deal with that. It was just, hey, I'll be there. I'm here, and then, but again, that harkens back to that we talked about that moment of truth of what you say you gonna do and then what you do in the face of adversity. You know what I mean? It's I hadn't worked in a year and a half. I had just come from doing a play. You don't get the money, but it was strategic in that, but I was not in a place in any way, shape, or form to say, I'm not doing it. I got to be with my kids.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I needed
Bills
the job.
Gotta get paid.
Bills got to get paid.
Bills got to get paid.
You know what I mean?
I'll be gone until November.
Right. Come on. Tell it. Come on now. From the New Jerusalem. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But and so that becomes the reality. And so, you go, and that's what you have to get up from that pain of telling your kids you're going to be gone and then being gone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then there's an adjustment period when you return.
Yeah.
Which will probably take about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So to fit back in.
Let alone the relationship with your wife as well, because there's a readjustment there too.
Yeah. There is, but because I feel, Denise and I communicate more on a daily. I mean, obviously your presence is different, but because you're communicating on a daily a little bit more, it's not as challenging as it is with your kids,
Right.
Sure.
We're talking 3 and 4 times a day, texting, this is what's going on with the kids. This is what I have to do. What do you think we should do here? Those kind of things. I mean, obviously your physical presence, yes, because now there's another entity in the space again. But but the communicata it's not as challenging as it is with the boys, because it's like you come back in and you're back on Father Knows Best, and then the kids are looking at you, then they look at mom like, we can listen to him.
He has authority and agency.
He's got. I mean, we know he's, but he's our dad. But I mean, I'm just saying.
All right, so let him be a dad today. Okay, cool.
Okay.
That's the role he's playing today.
Yeah, she gives him it's fine. Ominous Dominus. He's blessed. Amen.
That's right.
Okay,
please proceed. Please proceed.
Sprinkle some holy water on him. You know what I mean? Like,
that's right.
Yeah.
Did you have
I was gonna say no. So there's 2 takeaways.
Okay.
Right. So one is just kind of the communication with the family and the kids, and the other element that they're resilient. And they grow from it. But then also the other one and this is because we're in our 50s and it's real. Like, it's okay to put the eye stuff on and the patches under your eyes.
Vanity is real.
Those are the two.
That's right.
Yeah, man. No, I mean, when we say Father Time is undefeated, no matter how much rest you get, water, you know what I mean? You're exposed to the sunlight, you fast, and you gonna age. Like, that's just, it's what it is. You gotta embrace the inevitable,
That's right.
Yeah.
For sure.
And just roll with it, do the best you can. But
I think there's a part, right? Like, I mean, like, think about it. I mean, you are always in this place, like, with your family, you can be your most relaxed. With your kids, you can be your most relaxed. To the world, it sees you behind the camera, like on this produced camera, like you have to be as best as you can, particularly for the role, right? Like, you can, whatever you're trying to represent for that role, you're still presenting yourself as the best you can at that.
And it's a preparation.
And
that's what Russell does. And that's where he is. And because of the preparation, they know Russell, he got his lines. Right. And then the physical and mental, he brings it all to it.
Yeah. But then your kids can see you at this other piece, right? So go ahead. You're about to say something.
Yeah, but it's interesting, though. I read a quote. This is about 15 or 20 years ago. And I was in a hotel in Dallas. Mm-hmm. And there was what do they call those? Boutique hotel. I can't remember the name of it. It was a small boutique. And they had like all these quotes all over the place. And so I wrote the quotes down. But one of the quotes said, for a star, the people get the best of you. Mm-hmm. The family gets the rest. Mm-hmm. And I sat and I masticated on that for a minute. And then there was a time when that was true. Right? I have to go out here and give the people everything they want and then some, right? Mm-hmm. We're stars or celebrities, we're politicians, you know what I mean? I have to do the selfie, grip and grin, smile and hugs and everything like that. And that is draining. I mean, just even on a set every day, I interact with over 100-something people every day for weeks on end, right? Yeah. And then there is this period where you're dealing with a loss of yourself, right? So then I have to go back home, but I have to, who is Russell again? Who is Russell in this, at home? Mm-hmm. Where is he? Is he hiding? Where's he hiding? Right? And then who is Russell as it pertains to my wife and as it pertains to my kids? Will the real Russell please stand up? Mm-hmm. How long does it take you to find yourself again?
Right.
Because there is time. You know what I mean? It's just like when you get home from work and they say, "Ooh, I just need a moment to myself. I just need a moment." Yeah. Or at the end of the week or whatever it is, you've been at work, you're commuting back and forth, you're on the train, you're driving, toll booths, and hey, get over here, get them out. You know what I mean?
All the stuff.
You're talking with your boss, all the stuff. Right. And then you get back home, you're going, and the kids, "My daddy, I need you to hold on, man. Just you see, I just walked in the door."
Yeah.
That's you. I believe, or I remember my mom just trying to get back to yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's funny you say that because I know I try to be as conscious about that as possible because I have the benefit of working hybrid, right? So, or remotely pretty much fully. But my wife, she's hybrid. So in the days where she's coming home, I'll let her come in and I'll like read the room, try to read where she is. Of course, I'm like, "Hey, baby, how you doing?" But I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna back away, give you your space." Sometimes she picks up our daughter. I'm like, "No, come. Let mommy get set up." And because it is true, it's true. Like you need that downtime. And you aren't always, to your point, at your best at that moment. Right. Right. And you do need that space to like whatever release you need to have. Right. And I think it's more present now for me. I'm more aware of it now for me, myself, like knowing that, okay, in that space when I am getting to a point where I have to be present for my family and extract the best of me because I just gave the best to everybody else for 8-9 hours or whatever. Like now I have to come back and make sure like, okay, I've got the best left for my family at that point.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. And sometimes you need, to your point, like coming home for, after work or coming home for you after a shoot, like maybe sometimes you get that on the plane, right? Or traveling back home. But sometimes in that 30, 40 minute day, sometimes for me, like that, there is no transition because I'm sitting at my desk at home and kids are home, like everybody's home. So like, I don't really get that natural, but I think that's important to recognize, that you do need that ability to ground yourself and be present be 100% for your family too.
Yes. I mean, there was a time when, my wife said that to me, like, you're here, but you're not present. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's painful to hear that, but it's real. And so, and then that's when that quote kind of got back, into my consciousness. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, wow, I am giving the people, I'm always available for them, but never, for who I'm, for my family, by and large,
But Russ, sorry, finish.
No, please.
No, I was just going to say, and I think that's where you have gain versus loss, is that understanding and internalizing that. And so over the many cycles and years that you have been away, you have approached the gain more so than the loss of the time that you're away. You're not going to get that back, but it's getting back to who you are in that family with your wife, with the children, that you have now the tools to get to that much more quickly because you know what's most important at the end of the day.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And you have to go through those troubled waters in order to understand that. I mean, because like we always talk about, nobody's perfect. And though, having a willingness to receive accountability and is vitally important. And so, you look, they say you look deep into win and you just try to check yourself. But you're right, I did gain. And I think, having the time off and just to be with my kids on a daily. I mean, it got to a point where it was like my son said, he's like, "Oh, Dad, you've been here so long. Like, I'm not used to you leaving." And I was like, "Wow, a year for these kids that's dog years, for them at their age." And so, I did gain. I got a lot of that back, and you're realizing also again what you're really doing it for, there's that moment in Cinderella Man where, he's, Braddock is fighting his fight or whatever. He's getting back to get a championship belt. And I think it's like the third or fourth round and he's dogged tired. And he says to his corner man, Paul Giamatti, he says, "I finally know what I'm fighting for." And the guy says, "What?" He says, "Milk." You know what I mean? So those things, like when you have time to sit with them, and because remember, Braddock was there during the Depression when he didn't have anything, but he had his family and he stay with him. So he gets an opportunity to get back up.
Right.
And he's like, now, this is really why I was doing it.
Right.
To feed my family for milk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yep. And so then that time that you have with him is so much more valuable.
Yeah.
Those embraces, those hugs linger a little longer,
Yeah.
Because they're getting older. You're like, stop growing.
Yeah.
Stop growing.
Yeah. It's true. I think in the early part of anybody's career, there is the, I'm going to call it what it is. There is the selfishness of your career aspiration.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. There is this element where you have part of your career. You are working for yourself. You're working because you want to achieve this role, achieve this title, achieve this level of accolade. But then it turns to a point where maturity does get you a lot of humbling experiences throughout that journey. realizing, okay, as hard as I'm pushing, as hard as I'm going, there are some times where it's not all up to me. It's up to God, and it's up to somebody else, recognizing, okay, this person could do this or perform at this level or kill this show or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But all of those humbling opportunities add up when you also pair them with your family, your kids, your partner, being able to see their joy, that the time and the struggles and the time you're there with the struggles are the ones that they appreciate, most. Right. I was listening. It's funny. I was listening to Trevor Noah, his recent stand up, and he was talking about, somebody asked him if he'll bring his mother on his podcast. Right. And he was, playfully talking about his mother's behaviors and how she is. But there was an element where he said, like, my mom doesn't want to see Trevor Noah, the actor and the comedian and the host, his career. She wants to see me as her son. So she doesn't want to see me in that capacity. And for me, like, just kind of connecting the story, it resonates. Like, it's the time that's important. It's the moments that they have with you that's important. They're happy for your success, and they know you have to make sacrifice. Yeah. Right. But the time they have with you, and my wife says this to me all the time, like, I'm out there trying to, like, on my chessboard, trying to figure out how I set us up for the future. And she's like, tell me, like, that's nice. I appreciate what you're doing, but will our kids remember that? Will our kids remember the late nights, or will they remember the time that you sacrificed and the time that we sat down to dinner, or the time that we had a dinner movie night or whatever, or played Uno, like whatever the time is.
They're not going to care about
the resume. They're not going to care about the resume.
They're not going to care about the resume.
They appreciate it because they're proud of us, right? But they want us to be able to have those moments with them.
Yeah.
Right.
Russell, I want to turn to some of your work. Speaking of that, and you've been in the August Wilson American Century Cycle plays, as well as the movie Fences, obviously, with Denzel Washington and Viola Davis. And you had shared with me there was a lot of introspection that came out of that time period when you were on Broadway doing those plays. And there's the common theme, of course, is loss in the cycles. Can you speak a little bit of that that experience at that time, what the loss meant to you, and then I have kind of a follow up to that.
August Wilson is a mirror up to Black culture. He really lays out the truisms and aspects of who we are, who we were, and also who we are. And so in doing the work, it causes you to be introspective. And what you realize, or what I did early on, was what I didn't have, growing up without a father in the home, dealing with a great deal of childhood trauma, and that turns into adult trauma. And you look at it and you say to yourself, I haven't dealt with it as much as I thought I had, right? And all the work does, or the opportunity to do the work, is allows it to unearth itself, right? It surfaces. It's there. It's it's on the surface, but it's palpable, but you haven't dealt with it. And so August forces you to deal with aspects of your trauma, of dealing with, loss of aspects of family, relationships, thus with family, and really looking at what you don't have, but also what you ran from, and what you are running from, and like there was a point where I would come home every night and just like break down in tears, and for the longest time, I just didn't understand why it was affecting me so, to a point where Denise said to me one time, she was like, you need to stop doing this August stuff. Like, cut it out, man. But I had to again, you're on that journey. You're finding yourself, and it's great because it's cathartic. It was cathartic, and this is a lot before I sought therapy or before I had an opportunity to really sit down with somebody and really talk things out. It was just emotions coming up. And I think it all stemmed, I think a lot of it, because, August deals with fathers and sons, right? He deals with men and their loss, with men and of their vacancies of, what they don't have, what's missing. Right. And so you realize there's a lot of stuff missing that you're looking to be filled and fulfilled. And sometimes you'll get it and most times you won't. And you have to find a way to be okay with that and then find the ability to move on from it, and that's what it helped me. I mean, and I thought I was doing that, but I realized I wasn't.
Well, is it the kaleidoscope of all of that, or is there any kind of one play where you're, man, this has stripped me way down? Was there any specific, or it could be in total, or that kaleidoscope of all of them?
It's the kaleidoscope. It's the gradations of it, right? So it's like, you do jitney at 24 and you're feeling something at 24, and then you go at 32, you're doing King Henry II, and then now I'm a little bit older. And I'm trying to bring a woman into my life, and I'm dealing with this pain of not having the proper, words or sentiments with which to tell somebody how you love them,
right?
Or what it is that you need from them, or what it is that you need, period, from a relationship.
Right.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't have the tools. I thought I did, but I don't. And then you go to fences, and that's fathers and sons. And, when you're saying, come hear me play, Pop, you don't realize you're telling your own father, you're saying to your own father, man, do you see me? Have you seen me? Do you know who I am? And that's what I'm saying. You don't realize that's the yearning. Like, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And that right there fucks you up, tears you apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it is a need. It's like a longing. Like, somebody tell me that I'm good enough. Somebody tell me that I'm valuable. And you need a man, your father, to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Your mother's, it's unconditional. They always gonna love you. But a man, a father, with which to be able to say, be proud of, that's my son.
That's right.
I'm here to see him, and hey, man, damn, man.
Yeah.
And when you receive it, or when it comes, that it's valuable because you want to be able to look up to your father and have him look down on you, metaphorically speaking, to say, that means he has done what he's needed to do in his life. Right. And you respect him. But if you don't, you're just constantly searching.
Yeah. It's when you
for
think
somebody
about,
to give you that validation.
Yeah. And when so I think about it like in the context of what is purposeful work, right? Like, as an actor, for you, I don't think you as an actor or any actor gets kind of the accolades or the credit for opening that up, right? Because as much as you feel that as you get into these roles and you're looking through these scripts and you're understanding who this character is or what this storyline is, as you talked about it, there's an element for me that I thought about as you were just talking about, like, wow, there are moments where I'm watching a movie and there is dynamics between parents, dynamics between family members that I could look at both now as a father, but I also remember as a son, even before I was a father, watching these moments in movies that, I'm going out to watch, Boys in the Hood or any of these movies growing up. And I saw these dynamics with parents, saw these dynamics with, and my father, I'm blessed to have him in my life still. But there are elements and moments where I'm like, oh my God, like I would see these instances or these performances or these actors going through these moments. And I'm like, oh my God, like shit, if I didn't have my father in my life, like that's how I would feel, and that hurts. Like, and I'm getting
Yeah,
choked up in a moment in a movie, or watching these other elements of parents who miss these opportunities, or vice versa.
Yeah.
You know, just being able to get into a role with that and kind of dig into these emotional elements. You know, I'm watching my boys in a line, or my wife now, and you get choked up, and you're like, you know, and they're like, "You okay?" No, I'm good. And you're still trying to rationalize why this moment or this story affects me. Right.
Yeah.
And I think so. I'm saying that as an audience, right, viewing this. So I can imagine for you being so deep into these roles, particularly with directors and producers, you know, that kind of crack that open for you. Right. Like, just living in that, you know, we're living in it for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Right. You're living in that for weeks, months recording.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of in that character. So that's interesting.
Yes, and so, you know, Charles Dutton used to say, you know, with every performance or every time you go to work, you have to leave a little blood on the stage, right? And so you're always and this trail of blood or trail of tears that you're leaving from every performance, right? And so that's that is the hard part. If you are one who is fortunate and lucky and serious enough about the work and the craft to really dig deep into that. And I think that's what makes it difficult to, like, come back to reality, if you will, you know, civilization, you know, it's that because your work requires you to go in so deep that when people are like, "Hey man, come on out," you're like, "I don't feel like talking. I don't feel like going. I don't want to, you know, do anything with anybody." And then people are like, "Well, what's wrong?" Well, if you understood how much I have to give to do what I do, you would understand why I don't want to talk with y'all right now, or I don't want to go out, or you don't feel like doing it. And it's just it takes a different kind of artist or a different kind of human being to just have a willingness to kind of go through almost that, like, self-flagellation almost. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just
In inhabiting that role, Russell, it's you want it to be convincing, all the emotions. You dig deep into people's personal stories each time. You want that elicited each time you're putting your stuff out there, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm giving of myself, right? So the reality of it is that there are very few true chameleons in this business, right? There's every role that somebody takes on, it's a piece of who they really are, right? I mean, you're very rarely. I'm giving you a version of Russell as Maverick Carter. I'm giving you a version of Russell as Isaiah Butler in 7 Seconds. I'm giving you a version of Russell as Lions and Fences, but it's Russell. It's a version. It's a different, you know, there's a piece of me in all of that. And so you have to go, how can I identify with said character? You know, there was when we talk about those moments, I did a show called 7 Seconds, and there's a moment where, I think I talked to you about, thank you, where my mother used to say, you know, she was tired. I think I said that, you know. And so I literally, there was literally a line that said, "I'm just tired of it all." And I remember like in that moment saying, this is my mom. When she had to pay the bills and the ends did not meet. I'm you know, infusing my mother into that moment, right? And just that memory, just that thought, it took me there emotionally. It was like, boom. And it's just, And my mother, when she watched it, she caught it.
Okay.
She caught it. She caught it. Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you, have you thought again about re-entering that space and all that comes with it as far as the August Wilson plays? Is that something in the offing? Can you say anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I have to, because I feel like I have to now find the voice of those stories as an elder, right? So I played all of the younger characters in August. I have an offer on the table to do Fences at the Old Globe in San Diego to play Troy. Well, I'm 51, not, going to be 52. The character is 53. So you're right there.
Yeah.
And again, talking about, career mortality or transitioning, again, you have to now transition into playing those older roles. Like that's who you are now. And what does that feel like? And so now, how does that make me feel emotionally? Looking down to my son, telling my son I can't make it. Telling my son I won't be there. You know what I mean? Like
it's a different side of the story now.
Right. But also, I know what that feels like now.
Right.
I've been there.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
Oh man, daddy can't make it to the, you know what I mean? I miss my kids' little recital that they did at school last week. And, you recorded it, but daddy can't make it. So now you're saying to yourself, love to hear you play, but I'm busy. And so that's the role I'm in now. And that's a different, feeling, because it's still you still realize you're longing for something that you can admit that you need.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think this is a really good kind of transition into the other kind of topic we wanted to talk about. You talk about the intimacy that you get to bring into a role, one, understanding the script and how you make the personal connection and understanding the story and the inspiration that you gain from it, and then how you extract that and put that into your performance. When you think about kind of modern media today, right, so much of it is tied to, you see this transition in media in general, but particularly I've seen it and heard about it in the terms of acting, where you're now having, social media stars become instant actors and actresses, but then also the prevalence of AI, right? And how AI is now being presented as performance in certain cases, whether it's music, whether it's digital movies or whatever.
And in lead roles.
Right? So for you, when you talk about kind of your career and how you perceive that and your peers in the industry perceive that element of, I think there's an interesting dichotomy when you think about AI or actors and actresses that may not have the capacity or the full range of experience that you have had, being able to bring the authentic part of them, and to your point, leaving that blood and those tears on the stage with those performances. How do you, when you think about AI and technology and kind of this advance of media, like how do you think that has kind of changed it? And what do you think is, as you look at your career, like where do you think that how do you think that impacts it?
Well, first I have to think like I'm happy that I'm not starting now. I feel, because, I think a lot of these young people, they're not, unfortunately, all they're doing is they're just making content. It's not art, right? And so if the material that they're putting out is as soulless as AI, well, AI is cheaper. If we can sort of stay on the road of, giving them something they can feel, you can't replace that with AI or artificial intelligence, And so I think that we have to be mindful as we move forward, and I know I am, about the stories we want to tell and how we want to tell them. Because you can't replace the soul, you can't replace the spirit. And if we, and it's going to be challenging, it's going to be difficult, but I think that if we kind of try to stay in that lane, it'll be harder and harder for that to be replaced. Ultimately, there's going to be a battle of good and evil. And there already is. And we're just going to have to kind of see who wins out. And I think it's about letting younger people know that, you think you're winning by playing into their hands, but you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to hold out. You have to know the truth, learn the truth, and tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I believe, how you'll end up winning out. In this us combating AI, because the truth is, it's like everything else. They just wait for the old to die off and create some new fools.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have long left. It's, I'm on the other side of the rainbow, so to speak. So it's like, okay, we'll let your, Gen X folks, y'all can have all the real life stuff you want to. It's cool. Cause you already got 5, 10, 15 years left anyway. We got new fools we working on. We're going to get them. Yeah. I feel like it's my job, as with raising kids, but as with being a mentor, to continue to encourage young people that you have to be a part of the truth telling.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Don't let somebody do it for you. You have to be a part and take part in the truth telling. I think that's what's important.
Yeah. You can mimic mannerisms. You can mimic emotion, but nothing replaces warm bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Delivering that message that comes from a story.
Yeah.
It comes from a place. It comes from how they came up in the household. Mm-hmm. All these stories, Russell, you have told in the previous episode, and we sit here and talk about on our episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's got to come from somewhere, so then it's meaningful to somebody.
Right.
Algorithm ain't gonna do that.
Yeah.
No. It's not. And at times, and I'm guilty of it, but you listen to those AI remixes of whatever song and the blues version of this, and you know what I mean, the 50s version of that. And then I started listening to them, and I go, I can hear the soul's echo.
Mm-hmm.
After a while, it's like, I'm going, at first, in second glance, you're going, oh, this is dope. But you start listening, you're going, I can hear that something is missing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
the hollowness
so,
in it. Yeah.
The hollowness, exactly. When a man's an empty kettle, he should be on his metal, but yet he's torn apart, right? Mm-hmm. Just because I'm presuming that I could be kind of human if I only had a heart.
What are your favorite movies?
And that's the echo that you don't hear. And what I guess we have to train our kids and others is to have a trained ear to be able to hear and an eye to be able to see what's missing. And if the only way they'll be able to see what's missing is to know what the true ingredient or the main ingredients are.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That is our job. That is our charge before we get up out of here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, the old folks tell you about revolution, about slavery, about Jim Crow, about segregation. All of those things you learn. You watch an Eye on the Prize. I have to see injustice where it is. I have to be able to hear what it sounds like, racism, whatever that is, and I have to know what it looks like so that I can combat it, whether it be overtly or subtly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They had to train us for that, right? Then they get up out of here. We're able to see certain things, combat certain things we read, what we listen to, what we watch, in order to have that weapon to rise up against it. In order, as a dear friend of mine, Ren Troy Brown would say, strike racism a metaphorical blow.
Mm-hmm.
That was our charge. So now we have to give it to them.
Yeah, for sure. And in another realm, music, I think of, a journalist came to Shaka Khan, and she was asked to talk about the current state of music and the female musicians of the time who were heralded. Mm-hmm. And the pundit, the journalist came to, well, Shaka, what do you think? And it was a very specific person. And Shaka said, well, because this person was kind of at the pinnacle and everybody thought the best of this person. Mm-hmm. And Shaka said, well, in my time, it was about audio, not visual. Mm-hmm. And that's the truth, is that there's pain and there is study and training that goes into that delivery that comes from all the same diaphragm and larynx that everybody else has. But there's something else, whether it's the creator, whatever your belief system is, we all have the same larynx, pharynx, all the voice box, we all have that same anatomy, but where is it coming from? And spots and dots and computer systems and AI can't reproduce something like that. Yep. So go ahead.
Yeah. No, and you know what? The other thing is, though, they've made, performing or recording or whatever accessible to everybody. They say, the brilliant thing is you could do anything you want because you have this, at your disposal.
Right.
But, the truth is this shit ain't supposed to be for everybody.
Right.
That's right.
And
that's true.
And they lying to people. You know what I mean? Like they lying to kids and they lying to everybody saying you can do it too. And the reality, no, you can't.
Right.
And that's the other thing I think we got to get back to is sometimes you like tell kids like, no,
that's not your thing.
That's not your thing, baby. Not everybody is meant to be a singer, actor, rapper, dancer, basketball player, whatever like that. Sometimes you're just supposed to do it for fun as a hobby, community theater, intramural basketball, the Subway Beer League. You know what I mean? Just do it as a hobby. And don't look to try to make a living off of it. And I think that's the other problem too, that we've made it so kids feel like, yes, ever since America's Got Talent and The Voice and all those shows that came up, it's like
everybody's get their 15 minutes, and that 15 minutes,
no, you don't deserve 15 minutes. You're not good enough. You ain't good enough for 5. Like they shouldn't even put you on the screen recording you at the audition. Like it's just like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's just exploitative. And we've fallen into it, and we've been bought and sold into that. And again, like I said, they're getting these young folks. They just got to keep tricking them. We know it. You know what I mean? We know the ways of the force, of the dark side. You know what I mean? Like, we know how to wax on, wax out. You know what I mean? But they don't. So,
keep the revenue stream coming.
To it.
Keep the revenue stream coming with a new crop. So we turn. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we make a turn to a portion in our episode that we really like to emphasize as far as, what's in heavy rotation for us musically.
Yes.
Because you Russell, I know how you feel about music for sure. And when we're together and, I'm sending you crazy stuff like I send
he does to everybody. Yes.
From the DMC Music Club, the David McClain Music Club,
Yes.
You know what I tried to do with you, brother. You know how I do. And so talk to me, what's kind of in heavy rotation musically for you right in through here? Let me hear what you're getting into. What music you getting into right in through here?
I mean, honestly, it's the soulful Christmas right now. You know what I mean? Ever since Thanksgiving, you know what I mean? I'm listening to the Temptation, Silent Night, and the mistletoe. And that Chris Brown version. Mariah Carey, All I Want Is You. I just
got you,
because now it's like it is that season, and so and there's so many various versions of all these songs. You know what I mean? And then because also I want to make sure when I go home I'm in the spirit.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I gotta walk in. You know what I mean? Hey, I saw mommy kissing Santa Claus.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
It's a James Brown Christmas now when you come home.
And and I got a few of those. I'm in not my problem is like between you and my brother who sends me stuff. Like I got you into like Alan Stone. You know what I mean? Major. Kevin Ross, just all those people, like newer artists,
but
I'm still, I'm still 90s and old school just because I know the groove and it's the lyrics. It's always a lot of times for me. It's just about the lyrics and being romantic and things. And
it's also where the soul is. I mean, we talked about the absence of soul in technology and the manufacturing of it. Like you can't remanufacture soul. Right. And I agree with you. I think, I don't know. You see all of these, probably because we're Gen X and we're in our 50s. You see all of these memes on the amazingness of Gen X. I mean, our music was amazing. And what fueled our music, our parents and what their, as boomers, what they created from a art standpoint, right, is definitely there. So I'm with you on the 90s music.
Yeah, and also, and think about it, we're kind of the last generation to experience what do they call it? A collective struggle. You know what I mean? Like everybody, we're kind of all in the same gang of like aspects of how we grew up, what certain things we didn't have. We have a connected youth, TV shows we watch, but a lot of it just came the rap we listened to, the R&B we listened to, the lyrics were born out of a struggle, a communal struggle, and a communal understanding of what life is, what love is, and it was so pure at the time. I think aspects of these things are now manufactured, like we talked about before, and a lot of the kids just kids don't go out and play anymore. They don't doorbell ditch and play tag in the street and do all those fun things that we did, that we can regale through song.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Right.
I wish doorbell ditch, and I wish I was a little bit tall, doing all these things that we used to talk about, and these kids don't have that. And so it's reflected in a lot of the music.
Yeah. Instant memories. When we put on that song, we know exactly what we're doing. Soundtrack of our lives. Soundtrack of our lives.
Soundtrack of our lives. Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah.
What's one song? I think this is a good one. We to think about like your connection with your family, particularly your boys. What is the song that excites you most? Right.
From like his era.
Yeah. That's from your era that you want your kids to understand. I'm in a tribe phase right now.
From my era.
Yeah. And my daughters, I have, my 15, gonna be 16 soon, but she walks into the room and she'll hear like me playing tribe and she's like, what's that? And I was like, oh, you don't know tribe, right? And now I'm telling the stories.
You're like, what? You don't?
So what is that song for you that you are excited to kind of let them understand or let them feel with you,
or when it's time to do,
when it's time, because it's not all appropriate yet.
Yeah.
My song is that song that I think just for me that encapsulates just life and youth and fun. For me, it's Stevie Wonder's "I Wish," because there's memories to it, and I remember like just listening to that, growing up in the house just constantly. And when I turn it on, the kids go, and I'm starting singing, you know what I mean? The kids go, "Oh, Dad!" I'm like, "No, hey, there's Basie Miller, Satchmo, and the King of Foster, and you know what I mean?" And
yeah, sure.
Sneak, and I'm reenacting it to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and they're you know what I mean?
Here's the actor. The actor's home.
Exactly. Yeah. And now they do that. Like, Daddy's weird. He's being weird. Daddy's being weird. You know what I mean? But the one that connects us, I used to play it every morning. There was two songs. So when they would get up to brush your teeth, whatever like that, I would be playing "I Got It Made." I'm your idol, the highest title, numero uno. I'm not a poet. You know what I mean? And they learned it and they would just recite it. And then there was microphone themes. So it was like you got to brush your teeth, wash your face, everything like that. It's going to be "I Got It Made" and microphone theme. And by the time we're close to the end, you guys should be in a place where we're singing it on the way downstairs. Like you got like 8 minutes
there you go.
To get all that stuff done. You know what I mean?
There you go.
And then once we got to the breakfast table, every morning was I would put on Aretha Franklin's "You've Got to Accent Shewake the positive, eliminate the negative, and latch on to the affirmative. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. You know what I mean? Like, and it was just because, and it's my little teaching tool on the way to school or the way to enrichment or whatever. It was like constant every morning. You've got to accent, shewake the positive, and you know what I mean? And at first they were like, Dad. But then they got it, and then you realize just over time, right? Repetition, rehearsal, rehears all. I say, what do we do, Ronan? Accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, let's on to the affirmative, don't mess with Minister in Between.
Sure, teaching. Didn't know it.
And so those are those fun moments. We would do, and you realize you're teaching those kids, and again, that's those songs, and it was that one. So it was 4 songs. I Got It Made, Microphone Fiend, Accentuate the Positive, and The Candyman with Sammy Davis Jr. All right, everybody, gather around. Who can make the sun rise?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you took him on a journey. You sure did.
You sure did. That's talk about American Cycle. Really, truly. That's it.
But you want them leaving the house bubbling brown sugar. You know what I mean? You want them leaving the house buoyant, alive,
right?
And we create that for them. I create that for them. I'm part. That's you know what I mean. And I think that is, I bring some of the fun, like just the carefree nature of the sings and songs and the poems and the lyrics and the witticisms and the Russellisms.
I love that, man. That's amazing. We'll leave that there. Like, that's perfect. That's perfect, man. So, Russell, man, thanks for your time again and jumping on and just talking about this sense of loss and gain, because that's what's coming out of this conversation, particularly with you, but also what we try to talk to the community about is, there's going to be loss. This is going to happen in life.
Yeah.
But here are some tools, or here are some things that feed the soul, that then you realize, I'm on the road to gain here. Yeah. I'm getting back to who I feel as a whole person. So, man, we appreciate you expressing the way you have moved from kind of lost to living, and particularly at this stage in your career.
Yeah.
And so we're so thankful for you, man. Just keep out, just doing it. You're out there. You continue to do it, deliver great work, and we'll be watching. We got 2 new. We have 2 new movies.
Yeah, I'm
for
excited.
Russell coming out in 26.
Yeah.
So that's when folk will see this episode as well.
And there's some more. This evolved, Russell, right? Through some new experiences that you're able to bring to the screen, right? Some more tears and blood you get to leave on the stage for these good people.
100%. And as Steve says, there's still some joy inside those tears.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and I think, I think that's great. I think you said it amazingly, and as best as it can be said. I think the idea around going through these experiences, as uncomfortable as they may be, as sad as they may feel, like, there's some stuff on the other side, right? And Russell is an example of what those could look like.
Yeah.
So we want to thank you all again for joining the show today. We want to thank Russell for sharing his experience and kind of keeping us all motivated. He gave me some good feel-good music to add to my playlist.
For sure. That Sammy Davis, that kind of hit me there. I'm gonna have to look at that again. Sure.
Yeah, the Candyman can.
The Candyman can.
He makes everything he bakes satisfying and delicious.
Love it.
Talk about your childhood wishes. You could even eat the dishes. Oh yeah.
Boy. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, we just appreciate that he could join us, and anything that he said during this episode with us, this very special episode, let us know across all of our socials. We've got a phone number, which I can't remember, but it's on the screen. It's right there. Yeah. So, but just let us know just your thoughts, what you came away with from this conversation with Mr. Russell Hornsby. So again, we thank you for joining us on Getting Back Up.
Finding life after.
Yeah. Take care, guys.
Take care. Thank you for joining us on Getting Back Up, Finding Life After Death. If something in today's episode spoke to you, pass it on, because somebody out there needs to hear it.
For sure. We're on all the social mausoleums. So follow us on Instagram, Threads, TikTok. Mostly it will be in the form of Get Back Up Podcast.
And be sure to subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast.
And remember, getting knocked down is part of life.
But getting back up is how we live.
We'll see y'all next time.